Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Sprint Ride Option Podcast. Hello. We are live. It is a new episode of the Sprint Ride Option Podcast. I am Andrew Pasquini, joined as always by Jason Aponte. And hey, Jason, you got a new background. It's pretty exciting.
Well, it's not completed, but yeah, it is a new background, and I'm somewhat moved in. That's the best way I can put it.
Somewhat moved in is the best part you could be at, because I mean, I how long have I been here? Like 4 months. I'm still somewhat moved in. I still have some boxes I haven't opened, so it's a good time to be in, because it's when you feel pretty solid about everything.
I mean, look, as of right now, I have a place where I can record. This is set up in the background. So let's just leave it at that. That's the best way I could put it. Take it as good or bad, whatever it is.
We should have just taken a picture of your old setup and then just like photoshopped it behind you so nobody would know. Just keep it secret.
And kept it like a blue screen?
Yeah, like green screen, whatever it is. Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely. Yeah, that sounds good to me. It is currently 103 degrees in Sacramento right now. Hence my attire of choice. Warriors are also on tonight.
I was about to say, I thought that was for the finals.
It's also, that's the nice thing about basketball jerseys is when your team is in the finals, you can wear them, but you can also wear them when it's 100, and I think it's supposed to get to 106 today too. So it's not cold in Sacramento right now. Had the air conditioning blowing. I was going to try and think of a fun segue from that to the Niners. I couldn't think of one, so this is the very abrupt segue. Niners training camp got moved up a little bit, and then they canceled the last day, and things happened. Not too much. I mean, in terms of what we're used to with the 49ers and all the off-field headlines they can make, a relatively tame couple of days. I guess the big news, Jason, is guess who was there?
Deebo Samuel?
It was Deebo Samuel. That's the big one. Deebo Samuel shows up. And I don't want to speculate whether or not it was I'm Deebo Samuel showing up because I want to be here, or I'm showing up because I don't want to get fined, because mandatory, that's when we move into the fine territory. I'm just going to spin it as positively as I can. We know for a fact, no pictures of airports, no tracking flights, no nothing, that the San Francisco 49ers and Deebo Samuel are under the same roof for the first time since... We'll call it the NFC Championship game just to make it easy on our brain. But exciting. That's good. I think that is the most positive thing there is to talk about in the 2 days of training camp. Is Deebo Samuel and the 49ers, they're together.
Yeah, and I actually didn't expect him to show up to mandatory minicamp, and that wouldn't have swayed me one way or another into saying, oh, wow, Deebo's not going to make it, or he's not going to sign or anything like that. But him showing up is actually a really, really good sign. Here's the thing. When you think about his contract as it stands currently, $900,000 or $90,000 or whatever it is, $90,000, I'm sorry. $90,000, that's no easy drop in the bucket, especially with those state taxes. So is this the 49ers asking, hey, can you show up? Can you, well, we will know down the middle that you're not going to practice and nobody's going to blame you for that. And in good faith, will return the favor in negotiations. I'm going to take the positive route and say yes. And I'm going to say that that's what it is. So this was more a positive sign. Even if he didn't show, I wouldn't have taken that as a negative towards him getting to a deal, if that makes any sense. But this is a really good thing to see. And of course, it calms people down a little bit more in terms of that. Because, surprise, surprise, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, only one of them didn't show up to their mandatory minicamp.
And that's the point. That's the point I wanted to make, right? Because all this panic just 5 weeks ago for the draft, all this panic of Deebo's getting traded. There's no way they can bridge this. You mentioned DK Metcalf, you mentioned AJ Brown, and the reason they're always mentioned, as people should know by now, but if you don't, that's okay. They have the same agent. They were all drafted in the second round of the same draft. They all have the same type of situation. Only one of those three showed up for mandatory training camp with the team that drafted them. And I think that's all you need to know, because AJ Brown, he didn't have the loud deleting things from Twitter. DK Metcalf definitely didn't have it. You knew there was some displeasure with AJ Brown and the Titans.
Wait,
You
I think
didn't
AJ did
AJ
get
do
rid
it?
of yeah, he did.
I couldn't remember exactly, but it never felt like it got, and maybe it's because we live in 49ers world and we're talking about the Titans. It never felt like it got to the boiling point Debo got with the 49ers until AJ Brown gets traded to the Eagles. So, Debo created the most noise out of everybody, and Debo Samuel is the only one showing up mandatory training camp. And I think that is probably the best sign out of all of this. If we took everything that happened, the Instagram, the social media, the brother posting on Facebook, he doesn't want to be in San Francisco anymore, and you throw in the positives, this has been by far the most positive outcome for the 49ers this offseason in terms of Debo Samuel.
Everything seems to be going the 49ers way. Everything's coming up, whatever it is. When you roll the dice, whatever it is that you need, 7 or 11, I believe. I spent a little time in Vegas. I still am not completely sure as to what it is that like a guy rolled like a 6 and everybody was like, yay. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, but whatever it is that the 49ers thought was going to happen this offseason, whether it happened exactly how they wanted to, I don't know, but it is moving in the right direction. And that's it. So.
Yeah, and that's all you can ask for, really. And another player that showed up to camp that is also coming up on a contract, Nick Bosa, and I guess I'll throw in Trent Williams too, because he was there as well. And the gang's all there, it feels like, right? I mean, this is the best time. And for those of you wondering why the Bosa situation isn't as prevalent as the Debo situation, there's a lot of reasons why. One of which, Bosa had his 5th-year option picked up, so he's with the Niners through 2023. He was also drafted in the first round, so he's making a hell of a lot more money than Debo Samuel is, a second-round pick. So it's a situation that's not as pressing, right, with the Debo Samuel situation, and that's okay. It's good to see Bosa's there with the team. It's good to see Trent Williams is with the team, but that really felt like the other big piece of news, not Trey Lance related, because we'll get into Trey Lance here in a second, that Bosa, Williams, and Samuel were all in attendance.
And with Bosa, I don't know Nick Bosa personally, but I never once thought that there was ever going to be any sort of not showing up to minicamp. Remember, he is a number 2 overall pick, number 3, whatever it is. That means you have a 5th-year option. So yours is pushed down the line a little bit more. The 49ers with Debo have a franchise tag that they can throw out there. They have team control in that way. But with Nick Bosa, he's not only a year behind actually looking for the contract. If the 49ers so chose, they would just put the 5th-year option on him. And Nick Bosa did something. He went to camp, and I never thought that he wouldn't. And what I thought was the best part, I leave that to my agent. I'm not worried about it. And you know what? That's probably the best answer at this point. And I don't know Nick Bosa personally, but I didn't expect anything other than that.
No, definitely not. And I'm really happy that with Nick Bosa's contract situation coming up, and in whatever conversation there is with it, we're more busy talking about his quads, which is always, I think, is a positive thing, talking about his quads more than his contract.
Let's just say he looks incredible. Mm-hmm. And everybody's in the best shape of their life in OTAs, minicamp, every offseason. But apparently Nick Bosa is in the best shape of his life coming off of the season that he had his best season ever.
Yeah.
And that, my friends, makes me very excited.
Nick Bosa, once he signs his contract, it's just going to be so nice, because it's so funny because at 19 now, 20, whatever year he was drafted, 2019, you remember that whole offseason, the Niners have the 2nd pick. I remember talking myself into Josh Allen or Quinnen Williams, or at the time Clelin Ferrell, because you remember when Clelin Ferrell was supposed to be a top 5 pick, and then he wasn't, and then the Raiders just took him in the top 5 anyways. But Bosa was the slam dunk first pick until Cliff Kingsbury came along, and you can't blame the Cardinals. You can't say the Cardinals are upset with their pick. They got Kyler Murray. But the fact the 49ers just got this, I'm not going to say generational talent yet, because it's 2 years into the league, 3 years into the league.
Are we talking about Nick Bosa?
We're talking about Nick Bosa.
Generational talent.
Okay, we'll call him a generational talent 3 years into it. Let's do it. A generational talent into their lap, and he just seems to improve because he had 19 and a half sacks in 20 games last year, something like that. And he's only going to get better from here. And the Niners are very lucky and happy for him to just fall in their lap like that.
For sure. Thank you, Cliff Kingsbury. You continue to aid the 49ers, even if PFF wants to rank you ahead of our head coach for some silly reason, for some silly algorithm or silly methodology that you want to have. That's fine. But real ones know the truth. And that's not a shot at PFF. It's a shot at the guy who made that tape.
Yes. Absolutely. That list was insane. That list was wild. That made no sense.
Horrendous.
Anyways, we don't need to dive in. Speaking of pass rushers, the 49ers drafted Drake Jackson, also showed up to camp. A lot of high praise for him as well. He wasn't there last week for the open OTA practices. He was there the other day. He got some reps with Bosa. Good to see. Two big names that aren't there, and we don't need to spend much time. It's just two names that weren't there last week for the same reasons. Jimmy Garoppolo is still rehabbing that shoulder. He was not at camp, and Dee Ford was not there as well. And the only really note I had on the Dee Ford one is Shanahan reiterated the idea that Dee Ford's not part of the plans. And it sounds like he's just going to take a physical, and the Niners are going to move on from there. So there's the two names that weren't there just to clean that up.
Yeah, and with Drake Jackson, it was good to hear the praise coming from Nick Bosa because Nick Bosa said, man, he has things that I don't have coming into this league, and it's the bend that he has around the edge. That's one of the things that was highlighted in his scouting report, and that's something that you can easily see pop off the tape. Now, correlate that to his first day, which with all reports was he was getting stonewalled a little bit. Now, that shouldn't deter you from Drake Jackson because if you listen to what we said about him after the draft, he needs to have more moves in his bag, more power moves. He can win with finesse. He can win with the bend. He can win in certain ways with athleticism. The league is going to be about facing the best guy you've ever faced every single week across from you. Mm-hmm. You've got to win in different ways. So I wouldn't fret on any of that. And I would say that OTAs and practice is the perfect time to try to work on those things. So there was the first day report about him not being able to get to the quarterback. Okay, fine. But at the same time, when you listen to the praise that he was given, and Trent Williams' press conference was effusive with praise of all of the linemen, and I'm sure we'll get to that in a bit. But that's the type of stuff that it makes me feel better because that's what you notice immediately when you watch the tape and you watched him was that he had this incredible bend. He has the athleticism. It's just there's more to that, to winning consistently in the NFL in terms of power rush, in terms of the way that you have to win against different opponents. So he's working on that. I just wanted to point that out real quick.
And to go back to the Nick Bosa conversation, I guess kind of Nick Bosa, not really. Can't think of a better situation for a second round edge rusher to come into with a guy like Nick Bosa, Samson Ebukam, Jordan Wilson. A lot of depth in this edge rushing class. And oh, by the way, not edge rushing class, this edge rushing unit. And oh, by the way, you get Chris Kocurek to coach you, who's had a lot of success. And Arden Key, Kerry Hyder, a lot of names like that not really known, but came through the Niners system, got some pretty good money. Hyder with Seattle, Key, I believe, with the Jets. Great situation for Drake Jackson to come into and hopefully succeed and hopefully be at least a little bit of what the Niners expected out of Dee Ford in his first year with the Niners as well. So, Trey Lance, you want to start the conversation? You want to talk about passing stats and open camps and all that? 3 for 4 on a 7-on-7 in the end zone. All three were passed. All three of his completions were touchdowns. The one interception was off of Ayuk's chest, so take it as you may. They're still learning how to catch the ball from what I've read and from what I've heard and probably from what people can see. Trey Lance's ball is a little different than Jimmy Garoppolo's. That's why these camps are so important.
Andrew, stop burying the lead.
Okay.
This young man threw the ball for 3 straight days. Is his arm okay?
Is his arm okay?
Is his arm fit? What's his arm fitness like? For a 22-year-old man, I can't imagine him throwing the ball for 3 straight days. I've been up at night, not sleeping, thinking about Trey Lance's arm fitness 22 years into his life because Why wouldn't you be worried about that, Andrew? He threw when I hear 16 passes, 17 passes, my heart starts to race because his arm fitness. Why the season he needs to hold those on to for the season.
Yeah.
When you waste all those in minicamp, it's selfish of Trey Lance and it's dumb of the 49ers to make him use up his good 11 throws because apparently you can't throw the football once you're 22 after a certain amount of throws.
I'm so excited for Trey Lance to be a good quarterback so I could stop hearing about arm angles and throwing motion. Because in my opinion, and this might be too much discourse for people, as long as there's the result, I don't necessarily care about how it looks. Right? Like, I guess you can't really do it with baseball, right? Let's talk baseball real quick. You got guys,
and I'll correlate it to basketball so we can bring it in for everybody who's about to watch the basketball.
You guys got Nestor Cortez who throws straight up and all that. And then you got guys who throw like Tyler Rogers who scrape the ground when they're throwing. And both are successful. I mean, you can even do it with baseball swings. You got a guy with a smooth swing like Griffey. You got a guy with a pulley swing like Ichiro. They look wildly different. Both had different forms of success. So until this actually becomes an issue in terms of regular season numbers, I don't care about his 7-on-7 stats, Jason. I know that's a hot take and all. I'm not worried about the throwing motion. I am a guy who has a podcast and a Twitter account. I'm not losing sleep over it yet. Until they start losing games because he's throwing from the sidearm angle and it's getting intercepted, I don't want to talk about throwing motions anymore. I'm tired.
Right.
Find a new slant, as the kids would say.
Let me correlate this to pickup basketball. We've all played pickup basketball, and there's a guy who has the most beautiful form shooting. I do. I have perfect form shooting. Sometimes it doesn't always go in. There's a guy who gets on the court, and he's throwing it from the back of his head and just throwing it at the rim. And guess what? It goes in. Should you be more concerned about the form or the result? Patrick Mahomes wins in different ways. He has some of the worst footwork because he gets it done with his arm. Many times you've seen great quarterbacks make throws off platform, off the wrong foot, whatever. Look, how do I care that you got it there? I don't. No. Do I care if it got there? I do. Because there's guys out there who have everything going for them. Perfect, right? Perfect footwork, perfect throwing motion, perfect over the top. And the ball gets batted down or it's behind the guy. I don't care about any of that at this point. So, again, if I can correlate it to that, I've been on many pickup basketball courts where a guy is literally shooting the ball. He might as well be shooting it this way. And it goes up and it goes in. And here I am, perfectly hand on the ball, guiding it with the good wrist and the follow through and everything, and it doesn't go in. Form doesn't mean anything. Result means everything. And if you find a different way to win, it's the same thing with route running. It's the same thing with the way that that corners cover. If you find a way to win, it doesn't matter if it's in the vein of how people want you to win. So I don't care about that. If I could jump on Andrew's point here and just piggy that back.
The only question I have about your story is pickup. I thought you played in the NBA. Aren't you on like the Nuggets?
No, man, it's the off season.
Oh, also, yeah, my bad. Austin Rivers got eliminated by the Warriors. I remember that now because the Warriors are still playing. Last thing I had on Trey Lance, and I don't necessarily, yeah, exactly. Criticize the front shots perfect. Yeah,
this is my guy right here. He knows the jumper. This is my guy in real life. So he knows the jumper and everything, but that's pretty funny.
Well, now I need video of this jumper. I need to see.
No, the jumper is wet. It's just you can't give me space. Like you just can't give me any space. Look, I can't create my shot. If you give me off of a screen, and Pedro knows this, Joe knows this. If I come off the screen and you throw me the pass and I get a little bit of space and I get it up, it's probably going in. Like you've got a problem. But if you ask me to put it on the floor and dribble, that's probably not going to happen.
I didn't know we were going to get an in-depth analysis of Jason Aponte's basketball, but I'm here for it. We could just stop talking about the Niners. I want to hear about your bat. No, okay, we're good. The last thing I had on Lance, and it kind of ties back to Debo, just something he said really quick. I talk to Debo a ton, even when he's not here. So it's obviously good to have him back. Just his vibe on the field, his energy, him, Trent, and Bosa, when they're in the building, it's a little bit different. And I guess this is more than a Debo point than a Trey Lance point. I'm not worried about the Debo situation. I know I just said it like 5 minutes ago, but I'm not worried about it anymore. The Niners are going to extend him at some point, and that's that. I don't know why I put this under the Trey Lance category. Do you have any real thoughts on Trey Lance?
The press conference.
Yes.
Again, some guys in the offseason improve on certain things, and I think Trey Lance is doing that in terms of throwing the football, learning the offense, learning how to command. There's something about these press conferences that feels like, dude, are you a double agent? Have you been doing this for like 10 years behind someone's back? Like these press conferences are very important because you and I both know there is more to being the San Francisco 49ers quarterback than the play on the field.
Yes.
If you can go into that press conference and give not robotic answers, not cliched answers, anything like that, and be confident, Trey Lance is right now, that's all. Take whatever videos you've seen of him throwing the football, that's fine. Those press conferences, he's stacking those press conferences and feeling like more and more the guy. And he feels it in his bones, and it's just, you're starting to feel it. And I think that's where the confidence is starting to come from. These press conferences with Trey Lance are incredible, man. This kid is wise beyond his years.
He definitely carries himself, I don't want to say better because everybody's different, but he definitely carries himself better than what you'd expect a 22, 23-year-old would. I mean, me at 22, and I mean, obviously not an equal comparison. I wasn't a college quarterback in any sense of the term, but the way he's carried himself, it's like he's been doing it for years. And maybe that's a little bit of Jimmy Garoppolo rubbing off on him, because Jimmy Garoppolo was pretty good at that side too. So
if I could push back on that just a little.
I'm not married to that idea. Just throwing it out there.
Okay. All right. Let me push back on that a little bit. Here's the difference that I see between this and that. And I don't want to talk about a guy like who's on his way out. And I don't want to, but Jimmy Garoppolo has a way of saying something without saying anything.
Yes.
And Trey Lance is very, very, very straightforward with what he's saying. And what he's saying is, this is what I've been working on. I don't care about what you guys have been saying. Those aren't robotic or cliched answers. What I mean by that is Jimmy will say something like, yeah, you work hard on every play and you kind of hope that it turns out a different way. It is what it is. None of those answers that Trey gives are, it is what it is. That's how things go. Nothing like that. They're answers that feel like they're from him, that are from his personality, but they ooze the confidence.
Yes.
With Jimmy, I think Jimmy's done a great job of never really saying anything, I guess, inflammatory.
Yes.
While just giving regular answers.
That's fair.
So
absolutely.
That's all I'd say about that. Yeah.
I mean, I agree. Absolutely. I didn't think about it like that. Probably should have thought about it like that before I said it, but that's okay. That's why we're a tag team. You set me straight. I set you straight. It's a tag team. We love it. I have a note.
Are we the Dudley Boys of 49ers podcast?
The Dudley Boys.
That's what I'd love for us to be, the Dudley Boys.
Dudley Boys. The Hardys are pretty solid.
The Hardys are too. Look, that's a high praise right there.
We're not. So
I want to be the guys that are like, they're in the middle and they're grinding and they have a cult following and they're not necessarily the highest, but we're on the way up. The Dudleys got their flowers later on.
Yeah, Edge and Christian, maybe. I don't know.
We're
kind of in the middle. We're better than Edge and Christian.
We're better than them. Yeah, because the Dudley Boys had that theatrics part of it. I remember all that. Get the table. Yeah, I get that.
Ooh, I love the Dudley Boys. Their little run like 5 years ago in WWE was fun as well. New Day, all that stuff. In case you were wondering, I watch wrestling still. Ayuk and Jennings, the only note I had, Kyle Shanahan said they've had as good of an offseason as they've had since they've been in the league, and they're as good as they've been right now, both of them. And I don't want to talk about the quote. I just wanted a reason to bring up Ayuk and Jennings and Debo a little bit again. Jason, I was talking to Steph on the 49ers Carrot podcast, or the 49 Carrot podcast. Very fun. Enjoy it. Always great, Steph. If you're watching anytime, I'm there. And I thought of a question, and I wanted to ask you. I asked her this as well. Is this the first time in the Kyle Shanahan regime that we are more confident going into a preseason, a camp, whatever you want to call it? We're more confident in the receiving core than we are the running back situation? Because if this feels the opposite, usually it's because I know going into last year it was Debo and Ayuk, and obviously the situation with Ayuk happened. But after Debo and Ayuk, it was kind of a mismatch of Travis Benjamin, Mohamed Sanu, players like that. And it was running backs looking really solid. The year before that, it's Debo, Ayuk, Dante Pettis, question mark, maybe. The year before that, they had to go out and get Emmanuel Sanders. But running back has always been very, very solid. And I don't know if this is a camp question, but is this the first time you feel like the receiving core is better than the running back group going into a season?
I would say, at least at this point, yes, only for this reason. And look, Brandon Ayuk and Juwan Jennings have only been in the league 3 years. So it seems like every offseason is going to be better than their last. Okay. But there's a certainty, it feels like, in the pecking order for the wide receiver group. Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings.
Yes.
In the running back room, I think we all have a very good idea that Elijah Mitchell is going to begin as the first and second down guy.
Yes.
And we don't know after that. Is it Jeff Wilson? Is it Jermichael Hasty? Trey Sermon still around? Why is TDP drafted? So I think there's a lot that needs to still be figured out in that running back room, as opposed to the certainty that is in the wide receiver room, especially when you think about Danny Gray being injured and he's going to miss a week, 2 weeks. Now he's even further behind the curve. And remember, Juwan Jennings didn't play at all his first year.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. I feel that right now the wide receiver group is the strongest going into after an offseason because of Juwan Jennings taking on the Kendrick Bourne role and being basically a bigger Kendrick Bourne. Third down, red zone. I believe some absurd stat that Jordan Elliott put out there. 57% of his catches were for first downs or touchdowns or something like that. That's absurd. Now you have Brandon Ayuk. Now you obviously have Debo Samuel and George Kittle. The pass catching unit feels fleshed out. The running back room is the part that we need to,
And maybe that's the best way to word it, is the most, because usually the running back room is flushed out and the receivers kind of were figuring it out. So maybe a little backward. The coach, thank you for the donation. First time on your channel, bro. Love the show. Keep plugging.
Appreciate you, Coach. I've seen you on Brad's show and everything as well too, bro. Appreciate you, man. You know your ball and everything, and I appreciate the kindness and the donation, bro. That really means a lot, man.
We appreciate the donation. First time, subscribe to the channel. If you like us, you'll find our audio podcasts on Spotify, Apple. Sprint Red Option Podcast. We're going to tease a little bit of that later today for an announcement maybe next week. But we'll tease. Yeah, and so I'm going to change it abruptly again real quick. Thank you for the donation again, the coach. We love it. We appreciate it. The name that was probably said the most outside of the names we've already mentioned, you want to get into a little Jake Brendel talk? Jake Brendel, apologize.
Has there ever been a more wrapped up secret that was kind of in your face that I've missed? I'm not going to speak about, you, Andrew, that I've missed than Jake Brendel. Yes. So the praise that has been coming out, and OTAs start and Jake Brendel is the first center. And then you forget that Jake Brendel was the guy who was the center with Trey behind in the second unit. And then you listen to Trent and Kyle and all these guys, man, it was like right there in front of your face. Like he was there last year. And for sure, the 49ers definitely wanted Alex Mack to come back. They did. But they were perfectly fine with Alex Mack not being there because of Jake Brendel. Let me get to this real quick. Back to our running back talk. Toby, thank you for the donation. Appreciate you, bro. Three-headed monster, Trey, Brandon. Trey. Oh, got it. Trey, Lance, Sermon. Brandon Ayuk. Got it. Appreciate you, Toby. Yeah, for sure. So look, here's the thing. When you look at the offensive line coach, Chris Forrester, he worked with him in Miami. Mm-hmm. And I get the hesitance from 49ers fans. Hey, been in the league 5 years. Why isn't he a starter? Okay. I don't know, man. I think that the confidence, when you hear Trent Williams say, man, he got off the ball, and I was like, man, who the hell was that? When Trent Williams says things like that, And then you see him taking the first team reps, OTAs, mini camp. It's starting to feel like Jake Brendel is a center right now. And I think that kind of throws a little bit of water on the fire of JC Tretter. I don't know how you feel.
Well, I think it's still early enough to where they have plenty of practices, plenty of camps that if Brendel doesn't work, then you can look at JC Tretter. I don't think he's the starting center yet. I think these past couple of days have pointed that direction, especially in just elaborate on the Trent Williams quote. I have it in front of me. To be in this offense, you have to be an athletic offensive lineman. Jake is definitely an athlete, definitely a quick twitch guy that makes him a great center. Trent Williams saying that's great praise. Kyle Shanahan also, quote, he's wired to do it. It's about staying healthy and being able to adjust each week to some of the guys you've got to go against. That comes with experience, but I think he's ready for this opportunity. And I see a couple people asking, don't get the Brendel hype. It's on Chris Forrester. So if you're pro Jake Brendel, and I don't see why anybody would be anti Jake Brendel. 49ers Twitter has surprised me in the past. This is on Chris Forrester because Jason said he's from Miami with Brendel. They were in Miami together. And from what the Athletic said, David Lombardi put out an article about Jake Brendel. If you want to read about him, that's where I would go. That's where I got some of this information. Forrester's become Shanahan's main guy since Mike McDaniel left. So he's putting a lot of trust, like starting center in a Kyle Shanahan offense. This is a pretty big deal. And if Shanahan's taking word from Forrester, that's got to mean something. So do we know what Brendel's going to be yet? No, we don't. It's kind of like Trey Lance, but put it like this, and this is what I read. I'm sure other people know. Jason, I'm sure you saw this. With Garoppolo taking the first team snaps last year with Alex Mack, Trey Lance took his snaps with Jake Brendel. And so there's already a rapport there. There we go. Not rapport. That's NFL Network.
No, there's a rapport about it.
There's a rapport there. Ian Rappaport. No, there's a rapport already there. So they've already worked together quite a bit. They have roughly a full season under their belt with each other. Obviously just practices, not games. So as of June 10th, by God, it's June. As of June 10th, I don't see what's wrong with saying Brendel's the starting center. And I think that's a good thing because, Jason, what have we talked about all this offseason? The question marks on the offensive line. We have one full question mark answered right now, and that's Trent Williams. We don't know what McGlinchey's going to be. Brunskill probably is the answer to right guard now. Aaron Banks, obviously the answer at left guard. We don't know what he's going to be. I think the sooner you get these questions answered on the offensive line, the better. And if you could figure out this question in June, it makes the Niners better.
And again, don't assume that the 49ers were caught flat-footed when Alex Mack announced his retirement. Mm-hmm. And there was that press conference right after OTA's media availability where Kyle basically told you, we know what he's doing, you know what he's doing, basically. And that was after that, I was like, that's it. He's done. He's just allowing him to let Alex Mack announce it on his own terms. And that's exactly what happened. So, again, don't assume that the team got caught flat-footed. The team felt that they wanted Alex Mack back. Just because the team wanted Alex Mack back over Jake Brendel isn't a slight at Jake Brendel. It's just how good Alex Mack was. But they've always had a plan in place, one way or another. And I think that's what should be taken from this. And we're just going to have to find out. And it's good that he's getting these reps early on. It's good that he's the first one and he's being told and everything, and everybody's heaping all this praise on him. And training camp, I suspect he'll be the first person there with the first team. So it's good to start the process while we have told you to be cautiously optimistic or tread lightly on OTA pecking order, mini camp pecking order, as if it doesn't necessarily mean anything, because first day of training camp, Dante Johnson and Emmanuel Mosley were the two starters or something like that. It was something crazy. Obviously, we know that wasn't happening because of bodies. This kind of feels like they are foreshadowing what they want to do going forward, and I think that this is the best way to do it. You have to start with these reps now.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to say it. The pecking order doesn't necessarily matter right now, but this one feels significant, especially with all the things being said. I mean, I guess the best way to say it is it almost feels like the Trey Lance situation because, Trey Lance isn't the quarterback of one yet. He is, but he's not because Garoppolo's quote unquote there because Shanahan hasn't said it.
And
you see these air quotes I'm throwing, right?
Garoppolo was quote unquote excused.
Yeah, so for the audio listeners, there's a lot of quote unquote air quotes being thrown right now. But everybody, Charvarius Ward said Trey Lance QB1. Everybody seems to be saying the same type of stuff about Jake Brendel. So maybe we'll start. Let's get the term C1 started. C1. Center one, like QB1, like C1. So Brendel C1 right now. Jason, I have a couple miscellaneous notes that I saw. I don't know if you have anything specific you wanted to touch on before we started wrapping up. Edward, thank you for the donation. Really enjoy your content and analysis. Keep up the great work. Thank you. We appreciate that. It means the world.
Appreciate you, Edward.
Is there anything you wanted to touch on before I just got into my miscellaneous little notes here?
No. No.
I think we got it all.
Here's the thing. What you really want to see out of minicamp reports, out of OTA reports, is no injuries.
Yes. We did it.
And that's it. We did it. We made it.
We did it.
And look, certain guys dictate how they want to move. If you want to practice without a contract, good on you. If you don't, good on you. I don't care about any of those things. All of those things will work themselves out. This team will eventually be whole when it comes to training camp. That's all that matters. And right now, this team is moving in the right direction. I will say this. Maybe this is the one thing I want to kind of – this Jimmy Garoppolo thing is done.
Yes.
And coach saying if Jimmy Garoppolo was here at training camp, then I expect he'll be here at training camp. Is him literally going through the range of outcomes, which this is one of them. Is it likely? No. But he's just going through the range of outcomes. And it's clear that coach cares about Jimmy. And he didn't want to say anything too forward, aggressive, anything like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is done. This is done. From all accounts, from the people that have been there, from all accounts of the press conferences and everybody talking about, is he ready? Is he ready? Is he ready? It's Trey. That's it. It's time. That's it. They're going to find a way to move on from Jimmy. It's done. And I keep saying that, and yet we still keep having to have this conversation. But this was, he was excused. Baker Mayfield was excused. Why? They're both technically on rosters, but they're not in the team's plans in any way. And the Browns have a much more complicated quarterback situation.
Say the least.
And 49er fans, including myself, I do want to say this. They did kind of dodge a bullet.
They dodged a very large bullet. It's not kind of. They dodged a very large bullet.
I would not feel comfortable rooting for said quarterback if he was on the 49ers at this point.
Oh. All right, the miscellaneous little notes I had before we get out. We'll get you guys out of here before the Warriors start.
I know you guys want to watch the Warriors game. Shout out to everybody that's here. Shout out to everybody that's here. Appreciate it. Like this video, sub the channel, hit that notification bell for when we go live. Make sure that you are subscribed to the Sprint Right Option podcast anywhere that you get your audio podcast. Spotify, Apple, Google, anywhere that you get it, Stitcher, anywhere that you get your podcast, make sure that you subscribe. Andrew, let's get him out of here.
Let's get him out of here. So 3 notes I had real quick. Don't have to touch on them. Dante Johnson was taking most of his snaps at free safety. The utility knife of the secondary. We love it. Pro Dante Johnson podcast.
Yes, absolutely. Let's go, Dante.
Javon Kinlaw down 10 to 15 pounds lighter than when he weighed 324 at the Combine 2 years ago. Matt Barrows said his physique is more similar to Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner's, less bulk. Take it as you may. It's best shape of your life season. We love it. Anything to talk about.
I'm in the best shape of my life after I've moved a bunch of stuff and I picked up a bunch of things that I never thought I could pick up. And I even changed a tire.
Wow.
For the first time in my life. Yeah, wow.
AAA Aponte. And with Mitchell and Davis Price out, Jeff Wilson took first team snaps to Trey Sermon worked in. Jordan Mason looking like a workhorse, not a workhorse, a bruiser type of running back per Matt Barrows as well.
JaMycal Hasty, you're on the clock, young man.
You're
on the clock, young man. There's guys here ready to take your spot.
So there's my last little notes. We're going to get people out of here. We'll end it with a little bit of a tease. There are some changes are brewing. That's all I really got. Nothing too serious.
Milwaukee Brewing?
I think it'll be obvious when certain things change, and we'll talk about it then. Exciting changes for Jason and I. It'll be good. We're looking forward to it. Do you have any last second thoughts before we go home for the night?
No, shout out to everybody who was patient. I'm somewhat moved in. The shows will be much more consistent now at this point. Thank you to everybody who's asked how the move is going. The move is going terrible. Thank you guys for asking. It's not good. I would not ever suggest anybody ever move. If you are in your place of home, live there for the rest of your life and never move anywhere. So, yeah, let's cut this out, man. Please, this moving stuff it's got to go, man.
It's definitely not fun. I had a stretch in 2020 to 2021. I moved like 6 times in like 18 months, and it was not fun. Don't do it. Don't recommend it. 2 out of 10 would not recommend. Jason Aponte, 10 out of 10 podcast would absolutely recommend, as always.
Let's go Niners. And look at us talking about real football.
Let's go Niners.
And let's go Dubs.
Let's go Dubs. Dubs in 6. I was going to say 5, but I don't think they can do that anymore. Dubs in 6.
6 is my prediction. Yeah, let's go. Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.